Welcome to what I'm calling the marathon punctibyte of the semester. I'm going to try to cover all of the organizational logistics that we need for the next 2 weeks of the semester. So bear with me just a little bit as we run through this. I'm going to begin with a bit of scheduling, and we'll look at what's going on in this week of February. We'll be in the last week of February and doing Lab 13 for most of you on either Monday or Tuesday, and then moving right into the practical exam on Wednesday or Thursday. So this does come with just some logistics as it is. We're going to be looking towards needing to set up the practical exam, and for Craig and Katie, this means that you guys may need to get together on Monday night to make sure that you have all the Gram-Stain slides that you need for your class, as well as all of the media and whatnot. I'll let you do a little bit of coordinating with John on that, but certainly I talked to you a little bit about getting the answer sheet for your practical, and I'm actually going to bring that up so that everybody is aware of how to get the answer sheet settled for your different versions of the practical. So let me just bring that up quickly and show you where you'll find that on your TA CD. This is under the practical questions, and then under the it's PE number 1 answer sheet. So if you click on that and open that, this is the sort of blanket answer sheet for all versions of the practical. But what you'll need to do is basically delete this top red part, telling you to adjust it to accommodate your version, and then just run through the questions that you've chosen and make sure that each one of them has the proper number of blanks for that question. If there's, for example, if your question number 1 only has 2 blanks, you'll want to delete the third blank and make it fit your version, and then simply print this off. There's a copier across from the lab in Matt's office, and I can show you where that is and how to work that, but do let me know ahead of time if you need some help getting your answer sheets for your particular version. Okay, great. So that kind of takes care of at least one logistical point on the practical exam, but we also have quite a few more to talk about. For my TAs, what I would like to do is to go ahead and set up on Tuesday night for the Wednesday version. So Rachel and Alex, and then James and Leslie, if any of you are able to come at 5 o'clock on Tuesday night, then I'm going to go ahead and right after all the three of us wash the benches, Alaya and Sarah and Mike, once we're done washing the benches, then we'll just immediately put up the practical questions for the next day. And we may need to make a couple of slides that night too. And then that means that in terms of turning over the version from Wednesday to Thursday, I'm actually going to end up doing that at 7 in the morning on Thursday morning. So Kelsey and Noah and Chelsea and Aaron, I'll start setting up that version really early on the morning on that day. But what that also may mean for you guys is that during the Lab 13, if you're not giving the lecture of the fungus among us, you're going to want to work on making sure that you have some slides for your Gram-Stain station and any other station that you might need. So we're just going to try to be really, really organized with all of this. Okay, so I think that covers a few things there. On setup time should be good. I hope that everybody took note that Open Lab is actually canceled. So on the 2nd of March, this week's Open Lab will be canceled. That means Rachel and Alex are off the hook for this week, which probably is appropriate being as neither one of them has an advanced TA to help work with them. So they've both been new TAs working alone and been doing a rocking good job, by the way, but it really is appropriate. Okay, so then what that means is that on Friday, I'll be leaving to go to skiing nationals. So for our first week of March, I'll be gone, and that means that there are a few words of note on that week. Cassie Willingham will be here taking my place, and she comes to us as an even more experienced teacher now. She actually taught Gen Micro for Sheridan Community College this last summer, so she is now completely capable of handling the class entirely on her own if need be, but I don't want her to have to do that. So I want us to be prepared for when Cassie comes. So that means that one of two things we need to do. We either need to decide that a given TA for each section is going to give the lecture? And if so, that means that there's a lot of study and preparation involved in getting ready for Lab 15. Lab 15 is the cornerstone of all labs 15 through 21, and it introduces the characteristics of all of the groups of bacteria. So we have to do a bang-up job on Lab 15 and giving that lecture. So I'm going to bring up that TA guideline here in just a little bit and talk about some of the specifics on preparing for that, but suffice it to say that you'll want to really get good and prepared for that. Lab 16 is a little more straightforward and a little more of a review, so I think everybody should be pretty comfortable with that. Notice that Chelsea and James will be up for Open Lab on Friday the 9th. Okay, cool. I think the only thing that I just left out there is midterm grades, which I would really like to have done by this coming Wednesday. So that would also be something that for most of you, I'm going to be doing lecture 13 during lab on the day before, so you might be able to work on your midterm grades as well as any practical prep that we need to do while I'm lecturing, and during that lab I'll be doing most of the reviews as well. So it'll free you to really get prepared with all of that. And I know we talked last time, so you can review last week's punctibyte if you're thinking about, well, what kind of total should I have and see on eCompanion. You'll find that on last week's punctibyte. Okay, great. Let's take just a moment to talk about the individual TA guidelines, and I'm not going to say very much on Lab 13, except for that there are just a few of you giving that lecture. I know for sure that Kelsey's already prepared, as she gave the early version for Craig and Katie's class, so she's set to go on that one. However, if anybody else is doing this lecture, once again, this is quite an undertaking for preparing for this lecture. So make sure that you do take time to go through the TA guidelines, and if you can't have that time, make sure that you do ask me to go ahead and do a bang-up job on the Fungus Among Us lecture. Now for the Lab 15, which will be the first Monday or Tuesday that I'm gone for everyone except for Craig and Katie, I'm going to bring that up and just talk a bit about the details of this lecture. Remember, in this one, there's a bunch of coverage on the overarching characteristics of groups of bacteria. We've got the streps, the staph, the enterococci, the micrococci, the enterobacteriaceae, and the pseudomonasaceae. So we're talking about what are the core characteristics of each one of those groups, and we're really wanting to set the stage for being able to profile those groups of bacteria based upon biochemical tests only. So helping the students begin to get to know these bacteria is really, really important. So it does mean quite a bit of study for us in refamiliarizing ourselves with each one of those groups of bacteria. And I'm just scanning through this TA guideline with the note that there is a lot of material on each group of bacteria. Here's just on the Staphylococci, some of their virulence factors, some of their overarching characteristics that we assay for. The micrococci, the streptococci, the enterics, as we get into the gram negatives, and the Pseudomonasaceae when we get into the other groups of gram negatives. So there's just a lot of content in this lecture, and it does provide a cornerstone for all that is to come. So it's a really important one. So I have two suggestions. One is that you go ahead and get started preparing for this one ahead of time, and let me know this week if you're nervous or worried about anything that if you're doing the lecture that you may be unsure of. My other suggestion is that if you just don't feel good and comfortable with this lecture, that you get in touch with Cassie right away and let her know of that. Actually, let me pull up her email address in my window here so that in case you do want to reach Cassie, you'll be able to do so. And she's got she's now working, so I'm going to pull up her email address. So it's Cassie Willingham, and her email address is right here, CassandraWillingham@gmail.com. So in case you need to get a hold of Cassie, that's the best way to reach her and let her know maybe that lecture is something you're going to need a little bit of help with, and I promise that Cassie can help you with it. Okay, great. So that covers much of what we're needing to know for Lab 15 on the first lab of the week that I'm gone. And then lab 16 is going to be the next one. This one's a little more straightforward, but there are some things that have to be done for this. First off, the students will be learning about KIAs and they'll be inoculating their KIAs. And based on the results that they got from their Lab 15 data, they should be able to predict the results of their KIA tests. So I'd like for everybody to go around individually to their students and ask them how they're doing on the predictions for the KIAs and help them figure out this prediction if they're struggling. Also, this is the lab where they'll be doing their oxidase test for the first time. I would encourage you to, on Lab 15, encourage them to watch the oxidase test video that's available on the virtual edge because that'll really help them out. But also, I would suggest that somebody be near the oxidase test station to help the students so that it will save you work later, because if they start their unknowns with not knowing how to do the oxidase test, then that could really send them off in the wrong direction. If they get the wrong result for their oxidase test. So it's a good one to try to supervise a little bit and teach them how to do it this time so that when they do it on their unknown, they'll really know what they're doing. Okay, so the only people going on while I'm gone onto Lab 17 are Craig and Katie, but there's some nuances here that I want to bring up for everyone. This is the day when we do start the unknown identifications. So this means that we have to have the clues ready for the students. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where that is on the TACD so that you can go ahead and pull up the unknown clues and you'll be able to sorry, too many things going on at once on here, so that you'll be able to print your unknown clues. So we'll grab hold again of this TACD and let's bring open what's going on there for your unknown keys. And this is called the unknown list fall spring. And you'll just want to bring that, I just misspelled spring in there, didn't I? Well, you'll bring that open. And here are the unknowns that you can see here. But the one that you're going to want to use, and I'm going to bring it so that you can see the bottom tabs, is you'll notice there's a tab for fall and there's a tab for spring and there's a tab for spring clues. So click on spring clues and then this is going to give the clues that you need, but not each section is using each number. So notice you want to find your section. So if you happen to be Chelsea and Aaron, you're going to delete everything here besides your section 11G and the number. And then from there, you'll delete all things to the left there, all things in the middle here to the right, and then you'll print the clues. Before you hit print though, make sure that it all aligns on the page. So set the page setup so that it'll all print onto the one page so that it's easy for you to cut out those clues and set them out for your students when they pick up their unknowns on that day. So for most of you, this is after spring break when I'm back, but for Craig and Katie, you'll do it right before spring break. One other note on the whole break happening. After Lab 16, there's quite a long break. So let's pull up the schedule again. And note that after Lab 16, you're going to have a spring break before we hit Lab 17. So what I think would be the best thing to do is rather than putting your plates in the incubator on that day, go ahead and put them into the cold room. And then we'll put them into the incubator on the Sunday prior to the week that we'll actually be looking at the results. That way your plates will be fresh and ready to look at on that day. Okay, I know I am putting a lot on you right now, and I'm really, really appreciative of all that all of you do. You're really doing a marvelous job, and I'm so very lucky to have your help. I can't wait to see you this week, and I'll be looking forward to a good practical exam week.